Welcome everyone to the Flux Dev Meeting. It's March 12th, 2025.
Cool.
Well,
So, can I go through the quick items
Yep.
first, and then cool. So there's this contribution in image automation controller for supporting the file customization with uppercase K as the customization, like customization.yaml, from Customize. That seems to be like an official name that Customize supports. He pointed towards the proofs of this fact. And it seems to be like a one-line change in image automation controller and 50 lines of tests. So I already approved it. The test pass. I was just, for this one specifically, I was just waiting to merge to get feedback from somebody else. So yeah, I almost merged it, but for this one specifically, I wanted to wait and get feedback from more people. So there's that. What do you
Well,
guys
we
think?
have, um, there are several namings for customization, and it's in the library. There is enumeration.
Yeah, like he pointed to a link from the source code of Customize that has three names: customization.yaml, customization.yml, and this customization he's adding, which is with an uppercase K, no extension. So yeah, this is literally in the customized code base. Yeah.
Yeah, we use this function in lots of places. I'm
Yeah, looks
yeah
like
going
not
to
in the, yeah. It's
yeah
because
because
we
here
test the extension. We test the
yeah
extension,
yeah
right?
yeah, and we don't need to use the function because we already include all the other variants. Okay, I'll approve this one. We can merge it.
Cool. Merged. All right. This is done. Next one is this one maybe takes a bit more discussion, but maybe not so much. Um, People want custom commit status ID in notification controller. I proposed in the provider's API adding the field spec dot commit status ID expr with first, like, do this with cell. There's a lady who started working on it already. She introduced evaluate string to our cell library yesterday, which looks good. It's a tiny method just to evaluate the expression and cast the output to string. She added lots of tests for that. I already merged that and released a tag in the package repo. So she can start working on this if we agree. But like, this one is like, I don't know. It sounds like a fine addition to me, to be honest. Like, people really want that. Looks like people really want that. And um, so adding this API is something I think it's really okay. The more I think what like demands more discussion maybe is um we cleaned up the state from the status fields, right? The status of resource for a alert and provider recently. But this change would, in my mind, introduce the status back for the provider API, because in customized controller, receiver API, and Flux operator resource set, we are like, if the expression, we validate the expressions in the reconciliation, and if it fails, we fail terminally, right? With terminal state. So ready false with a specific reason and everything. And I think we should just do the same if we introduce this for a provider. So this would like introduce provider status back. What do you guys think?
No, no.
No?
We validate the provider. There are many things that can go wrong with the provider besides the expression. The secret can be malformed, lots of things.
Okay.
I don't know, specifying a channel that doesn't exist and all of that. So I think it's fine to just have this validation step in the alert and issue
In the
logs
alert?
and events. Yeah.
Like,
So
yeah, when
when
the alert
you,
is happening, right? In the server.
yeah, that's where, so there in the server we have, we deal with all the error handling for all the provider things that can be misauthentication, I don't know, channel does not exist,
Right.
a bunch of stuff.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
So I would say add the validation for the cell stuff to where right now everything is happening, which is in the alert handler, and
Okay.
be, of course, be very explicit about cell expression does not evaluate,
Yeah.
why doesn't.
Yeah.
Of course, you
Yeah.
can have
Error level, not warning, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like so there is
Okay.
a code there that does all sorts of error handling right now for the connectivity, authentication. We'll just add there a new thing for the cell validation.
Yeah. The errors all bubble up into like the highest like level of the entry point of the handler, and we log an error
Yeah,
and go
and
to the next alert that matches the event.
and I also think we create a Kubernetes event. So when you do kubectl describe alert, you actually see all the errors.
I don't think we do that, but if we don't, I think we should.
Wait, let me see. No, we do.
We do it?
Yes.
Nice. That's great.
For example, if you look here.
Oh yeah, line 86. Okay.
So what we need to do is introduce maybe a
A,
new type.
like a reason for the event. Yeah.
Yeah, we have the generic one, notification dispatch failed.
Dispatch fails. Yeah. In the other controllers, we have a specific reason for the conditions and for the event when cell fails.
No, we need to leave it like this because all this captures
Yeah.
all errors. And it's about I can't dispatch the error because the context is wrong. I couldn't
Yeah.
compose the context. So no, it's okay. We just need to
Cool.
bubble the error up from cell, have a nice error message, and that
Okay.
gets logged and it's also sent to the events. So
Cool. I can write all these notes in the issue for a lady who is working on it. Okay.
yeah, my
Cool.
question is what's the field?
The fields, right? Yeah. I am suggesting adding the three involved objects: the event, the alert, and the provider.
No, what's the field called? Can you give me the
Oh,
number of the
oh,
issue?
yeah. It's on the all the links of the agenda are in the document if you open it, but let me grab the link quick here for you. Let me send here and there. The name of the field I proposed is spec.commit status ID expr, because we have ready expr and flux operator, right? And yeah. I thought about commit status expr as well, but I don't know if it's clear enough that it's about the ID. I just like think ID expr, it's ugly, like
Yeah,
uppercase
let's remove ID
IDE.
because let's remove ID because it's obvious what's happening, and we can actually have a good comment on it, what this field does and all of that, right?
What if we
So let's
ever have other fields for commit status? I don't think that's gonna happen, right? Like we're only adding the
yeah
first one this late in history.
yeah we talked a lot about having a commit status CRD, but in the end there aren't, besides this identifier, there aren't any things that people wanted to customize. So we dropped that idea as well. So no, let's go with
Okay.
commit status expression.
EXPR. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay. Anything else for this one?
Why is that my customization slash what's that? Is that
Uh,
like a custom prefix or
that was just an example of like something I came up with to like show how to use all the fields of all the objects, like some one field of each object in the expression. Like I put a cell playground link at the end to show this, but what they actually want to do is not like I think it's this comment right after mine, context, because my customization is maybe the name of the customization, then he wants some field from the event metadata, and then the provider unique ID. So yeah, they want to add they basically benefit, for example, from RFC 8, right? And add fields from the custom event metadata that we added via RFC 8. But yeah, like I suggested adding alert, provider, and event because they are the three involved objects. So it really costs nothing to add the three of them to the context of the expression. And then people do whatever they want.
so we add involved object, we add
Yeah, not
metadata.
yeah, actually, if you look at the further down in the comments, there's one where I list exactly what I want to add. It's my longest comment closer to the end. You'll see there I want to add event, alert, and provider. That's it. That with these names. And even the function that creates the expression, I added the cell.with struct variables. That's literally event, alert, and provider. And all these objects are fully available at the moment we build this expression, like the entire provider object, the entire alert object, and the event, of course, with metadata resolved.
We have that?
Yeah, the like in RFC 8, there's a function that combines all the metadata, right? And it's literally called right after creating the notifier. So we just swap those two lines, and between them we will have the three objects, and we can build the commit status ID right there and pass this optional commit status ID to the factory of the notifiers, which by the way, I suggested to refactor since it's like internal code and it's super bad. Like it's super, right now it has that constructor that takes all the arguments and some of them are optional. So I also suggested to refactor that. to a decent constructor with decent options. And that will be one of them, the commit status ID.
In the send function, I don't see the provider. I see event.
Which one? Look at
Handle event.
yeah, that's like the top level. I pasted exactly the snippet of code with these two functions that we need to swap that I just said, and between them we will build the ID. If you open the issue I sent the link for, like go to the bottom, you'll see a large comment of mine, and there you see the exact place. Search in the issue a web page for the string combine event metadata. You will find it there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the provider as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we have everything there. We just swap those two function calls, and between them we have everything. We build the ID, we pass it to the constructor.
Cool. Okay. Okay. So the takeaway from this is to change the spec field.
Cool. I'll note that. And the takeaway is the name of the field, and also not re-add the status because I told
Yeah.
her to do that. So I'll go back on that. Yeah. Cool. I'll add those two takeaways in the thread after the meeting. Thanks. Next item.
Yep.
Cool. So last night somebody asked for exporting the webhook path of receiver into a secret, which I think makes sense. I also added the link to the document. Let me paste it here in Zoom as well. So yeah, basically they want to send this the webhook path, right, somewhere, and they can do it from a secret. So if we add a feature to receiver that exports this to a secret, they configure the name for something that will help them.
That's horrible. Like, why would we? What custom resource out there takes its status fields and creates random secrets? Like, no way. If it's
I mean, yeah,
programmatically accessed, if it's programmatic access, their program should be able to read the status
yeah,
field.
of course. I'm not sure if that's the case. I am guessing that is something that can read from secrets, but maybe not any custom resource. Let's see if there's any details about that in the request. External secrets operator push secret. Yeah. So yeah, it's a feature from external secrets that can send a secret somewhere. Yeah, that's what I imagined.
He can
So
compose the webhook URL like he did in the example. I see no issue with that. We are not going to break because receiver is v1, so the SHA function that he wrote, it's okay.
yeah, what? I didn't follow.
Did you read the issue?
Not in full detail.
Okay. Read it.
Okay.
So basically
But
you can compose the webhook URL in the with this
yeah, if you have the
external
token.
secret. Yeah, and the
Oh,
token is in the secret. Like what? Why
right.
would we
Yeah.
create
Okay.
a second secret?
Okay.
Makes zero sense.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying they can just use the secret where they provide a token to compute the resulting path just like we do, and then push that. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So their feature request is just nonsense?
I'll respond.
I wouldn't
I
say
mean,
no,
they can,
but it's a
they
helpful
actually,
example, right? To be able to do that. You have it,
yeah,
need,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So from the feature request, they're basically giving the solution.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, maybe ask them to like add, yeah, like today I did that. Somebody found a solution for Telegram provider something. I asked them to open a PR adding docs for that with that example. Yeah, maybe we could actually add this example in the Telegram provider, no, Telegram, in the receiver API docs.
I replied on the issue.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I saw your answer. But you didn't mention anything about docs, right?
About
For adding this example to the docs.
why would our Flux docs contain external secrets stuff?
Because it's like a nice way to do this, right? Like if like they literally need the token path, like the webhook path, somewhere else. And like exporting this to a secret through external secrets, which is actually a nice tool from the ecosystem. Kind of makes sense, right?
We could add to the docs the function that does it and the way you compose the SHAC, and you can do that with many things. In the Helm chart that reads the token and runs the
Yeah,
same function.
yeah.
It's not specific to external secrets.
Yeah, still something to add in the docs, right? So maybe actually the function we use and not specifically mention external secrets. Just added the comment. Okay, so that's it for this item, right? Let's
Yeah.
move on. Okay, well, basically the remaining items are PRs I have open. So the first one would be the refactoring the impersonator to use impersonated REST mapper on status pollers. The PR you know about from a few weeks ago when we were releasing Flux 2.5.1. I think that's in good shape. You mentioned about adding some tests for the options, but I'm not sure. I mean, can you review it? I don't know, like if our, well, that's it. Just bringing up the PR. I think it's,
Yeah, so we had that issue with control runtime, which they found the fix for it.
I saw that.
So ideally we will delete the vendor
The
dress
vendor,
mapper,
mhm,
remove all of that, go back to the control runtime REST mapper upstream function that generates the REST mapper. Merge that, and
mhm,
then we can you can rebase and we'll merge yours. I'll have to do one more review for the options
cool.
because we are
Okay.
changing. Basically, we are breaking the client interface completely in our runtime.
Mhm.
So I want to bundle it along with the REST mapper change, because that's also breaking change. We added lazy REST mapper. Now we are deleting it, switching back to upstream.
And I
So I want
guess
to,
that's gonna call a minor release instead of a patch, right?
yeah. Yeah, we didn't do a patch release when we changed the REST mapper. This will be another minor of the runtime that will contain the removed REST mapper going back to
Oh,
upstream
sorry,
and the refactoring.
I meant in the customized controller 251 because there's still some impact, I think, from the like I saw Steve, right? Steve Wade, who was a maintainer, he was mentioning he's still seeing some of those random logs. I'm not sure it's related. I was just assuming, but I guess the impact is not as huge as it was when we released 2.5, right? So I guess we'll definitely not
No,
do a Flux patch at this point, of course, right?
those warnings have nothing to do with the REST mapper.
Okay.
He had older versions in Git. Bumping the version in Git does nothing because server-side apply ignores the version.
Hmm.
And in storage in etcd, the version is still old. You need to migrate etcd storage, or you need to add. I replied on
Okay.
that Slack thread.
Okay.
So it's not
Cool.
in any way related to the REST mapper. We
Okay.
can definitely do a patch release if we need to at some point. I mean, I would definitely backport um,
Um,
the pull request that rolls back the REST mapper
right.
in customized control. And if we would have to do at some point a patch release for Flux, we would also do it in customize. It does solve another issue. For example, Kyverno mixes up several CRDs under the same group name. Some of those are V1, some of those are V1 beta. And even the old REST mapper from control runtime had the bug around this. It wouldn't detect correctly the preferred version because it didn't do a match of kind group version. It was just group version. So you, even with the fix that we shipped in 251, people using Kyverno, those CRDs which have shared groups will still get the warning. And now it's confirmed, like with the new logic in control runtime, that's also fixed. So now we know for sure that the REST mapper in that pull request fixes everything. Right? So
Cool.
it would
Nice.
be good if we want to do a patch release Flux 2.5.2. It would be good to include the REST mapper fixes as well, right? Because
Including
that's,
the my PR or not?
yeah. I mean, your PR does nothing in terms of behavior, right? You,
It,
the
it actually
the
does, right? It impersonates the REST mapper for the status poller, but it's probably, as we
yeah,
discussed
no, it's
before,
okay.
it's like it's not real impact, right? Like always, all source accounts have access to
Yeah.
discovery.
Yeah, the default permissions of a service account is to be able to query the API versions, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
no one should be impacted by that unless they
They
mess up with
removed. Yeah.
the default Kubernetes roles. And if that's the case, I don't know.
What can we do, right? Sorry.
They need to put it back or create or give the service account
The
that they
permission.
created for Flux that permission.
Mhm. Sounds good. Okay. Cool. LGTM. Uh, Next item.
Yeah.
So that would be about the two PRs I opened in Source Controller and Image Automation Controller for introducing token cache and using it for GitHub app tokens. I sent those PRs to Deepti for her to review. She actually did a good comment on the source controller one, which is questioning, the same things you did actually in Flux Operator when we added it there. So I just, ran an experiment to show that we did not need to worry about the concerns. So like she was saying, hey, what if the token is invalid because it doesn't have permissions? Then we need to invalidate the token. But that's not um, true because the token is not invalid. If what's invalid are the permissions you gave to your GitHub app, right? Like, so the experiment I did was I um, I have a resource set uh, input provider with the token, the GitHub app token working, and then I removed the permissions, and then I saw the error, and then I re-added the permissions, and I saw the error fixed. So you don't need to invalidate the token. The token is not invalid. It still represents the identity it should, which is the GitHub app. So and I even checked that the same token was used. So I saw the logs in Flux Operator, and I had the debug logs enabled, and I saw the log that shows when a new token is issued. I saw the timestamp was the same, in only one log was printed. So before my test, I saw that log, I saw the timestamp. After my test, no additional logs of when the token is issued, same timestamp of that log. That disproves that the same token was used before and after I removed and added the permissions to the GitHub app. So that is the first scenario, right?
Yeah, I've seen that. I think like me, she missed the fact that the actual key is in the cache, is part of the cache key.
Exactly. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
main concern is that we actually log it, which is CV material, so we can't do this stuff.
We
We can't.
we don't log the key, we log a hash of it in debug, right? The
But
key
we log
is
some parts of the secret, right? Like, isn't the GitHub, where is
yeah.
it?
Yeah, but
The app ID and installation ID are secrets or not?
yes, those things are not secret, but they are retrieved from the secret. So I'm not sure, like I wouldn't consider them secret. They are
Okay.
retrieved from like, so the app ID is visible in your URL when you're managing the app. Your app installation ID is visible in the URL when you're managing the installation of the app in your org. So that's kind of public, right? And there's also the endpoint, the base endpoint. So of your GitHub Enterprise. I don't know, maybe that could be secret. I mean, I can just take the hash of whatever is really secret.
Wait, so if you don't specify app base
No,
URL, it ends up in logs as empty, right?
yeah, yes, exactly, which is fine.
Why didn't you just hash all these things and you have them?
Yeah, we
Like,
can
why
do
isn't
that.
the key of
Entirely hashed. Okay. It's because of my paranoia with collisions, but I know that's just paranoia, so okay, I can just hash everything.
what? This is a SHA-256.
Yeah, I know. The probability is super low of collisions. I know. Okay. I can just take the hash of everything. Whatever.
Yeah, I think that's better. So the build cache key, it has all these key parts.
Instead of hashing individual things, I just hash the entire thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I can
And then
change that.
you'll also reduce the amount, the size of the cache, because now basically the
Mhm.
key is way longer than the token.
Right.
And it's also can vary a lot based on the base URL. You can have like this huge base URL, and then the key will grow even longer and so on. And
Mhm.
a token cache should be predictable in size, and now it's
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
Right? So I
Okay.
would say all these key parts will result in a final string. You join all the parts in the string, then you
The
store the
cache.
digest of those in as the cache key.
Okay. Sounds
You
good.
don't use any of this information anywhere, right?
No,
You
no,
don't rely, you don't extract you don't parse
no,
this and do stuff with it,
no.
right?
The only thing it's really important is that those things should influence the cache key, but I don't extract it from the cache key anywhere.
Cool. So
Yeah,
using a 255, 56 digest
is
should be
enough.
fine for this. Yeah,
Okay. And also, we didn't release this yet in Flux Operator, right?
we did.
We did? 17? Did you release 18? Was it in 17? I don't remember.
Oh no, no, it isn't.
It isn't
Is
released,
it
right?
merge?
Yeah, I just remember it's merged.
Yes, yes, it's only merge. Yeah. So anyway,
Oh,
it's a
great.
in-memory cache. We don't have persistent storage for it, so we can change the keys
Yeah,
however we want.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's change the key everywhere. This
Mm-hmm.
can be done in package, right?
Yeah, this is yeah, the key is built there. So I send a pull request to package, we release it, and I update my PRs and also update Flux Operator.
Yep.
Cool. Cool, that's it then. Yeah, so basically, but I left the whole explanation in the PR anyways for, I don't know, future readers. It's a good question anyway, like it's a problem that can happen if the token is being valid. But I think we just argued here that there are no there are no real situations where we need to do that. We are also being conservative in terms of the expiration of the token as well, right? Like we're doing like kubelet that expires tokens on 80% of their life. So yeah, I'm confident that this will have no issues. And if anybody ever like says, hey, my token is I have a token here that is cached with this strange error, this is annoying, fix this, then of course I'll look into it. Like, I really just want to see what kind of error that is. So yeah, that's it from me from the site.
Cool.
Okay, and yeah, my last item is the probably less important one, but also the maybe polemic one. So I finished like this weekend I did an amazing progress towards multi-tenant workload identity. So I really think the RFC as in the current state is ready for review. So I marked several people there. And yeah, like I really tested this. I have some like proof of concept code, and I was able to get the tokens for like the generic tokens for like all the cloud APIs, also the tokens for container registries that require an additional exchange So I got tokens for those as well. By the way, that's not true for all clouds, like only Amazon and Azure require exchanging their access tokens for another token for their container registry services. For Google, that's not true. You just use the generic access token. You don't need to exchange it. Well, anyway, I think we are good to implement this. And at the end of the RFC, I added a section saying that um, we should obviously I don't think I don't know, like I don't think we should do a minor Flux release where we work on this for all the APIs and release for all of them at the same time, because if we do that, we're only going to do that and we're not going to ship anything else. And even if we only do that, that might not be doable because it's, 5 Flux controllers. So I suggest that we smooth this out in multiple minor releases, 2 or 3 maybe, so we can obviously have time to work on the priorities and also a bit of time to ship these things. I think we can like ship, okay, this API in this, like this set of APIs in this release. Then if we do that, we do that for all the cloud providers for that API, but which is like small work, right? Like it's easy. With the library I proposed, it's like it's no brainer to add support for all the cloud providers for a given API at the same time. So the work is really just about the API. So yeah.
So we are going to have in package. Wait, why is this package workload identity? We already have an auth package.
Yeah. So I looked at that, of course. So we have Auth. Auth has 2 providers, Azure and GitHub, right? So it makes sense to have Auth, like, yeah, unless you're just talking about the name, right? But in the current state of the Auth package, we have Azure and GitHub. GitHub remains as is because GitHub is not workload entity. It's like secret GitHub app, right? What we were just discussing. Azure, though, that Azure package, it's completely superseded by this new library. So yeah, we could maybe just do then, instead of calling this package workload identity, we just maybe we could still call it workload identity, but then make it a sibling of GitHub inside of. So fluxcd/package/auth/workload identity. Um, because I think it's important to make a distinction between what we have for GitHub and what we have for the other cloud providers, because it's actually different. It's not workload identity for GitHub, right? We don't have that. Like we still need a secret, like a private key for GitHub. And that's definitely, like, that's not true for the cloud provider's case. It's completely secretless, right?
Yeah, also I discovered that this GitHub app thing is very problematic on how GitHub does it. Like
Oh yeah.
you can't access anything with GitHub app outside of Git. You can't pull from GitHub container registry, can't do anything with it. It's just for Git operations.
Hmm.
So that was a big surprise. I would
Yeah.
expect for a GitHub app to be able to, I could use it to provision a image pull secret, for example, or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's not a
honestly,
thing.
to me, it's a surprise that GitHub does not have federation. Like like all the cloud providers have this. You can, in any cloud provider, you can configure an identity provider. And if you present an OIDC token to the provider will give you an access token to use the resources of the provider. And GitHub doesn't have that. Like GitHub doesn't allow you to have like, I think it's about the thing you said about what they want to, I don't know, have control of CI markets, right? Like if they allow their stuff to be accessed so easily without secrets anywhere, maybe they will lose something. I don't know.
Yeah, so given this, I think auth GitHub should be moved to the Git package because that's only for Git. That's its scoped. It's they said no to, like, there is a issue in GitHub around, hey, I want to connect to GitHub container registry or whatever using the GitHub app, and they say like, no, this is not going to happen. GitHub app is for accessing the Git repository API, and that's it. So given this discovery, we don't need GitHub in the auth package as a generic auth provider because it's not that. The GitHub app is not a generic auth provider, is only for Git. So if it's only for Git, makes zero sense to have it in the auth package because why we have a top level auth package is for those providers, the goal is to use the auth package with all our APIs and connect using the auth client, which for
Right.
GitHub doesn't work. But for Azure, for Google, and for Amazon, as you wrote in the RFC, and it's very obvious through all the implementations that we currently have, even if we are not multi-tenant, we can connect to S3, container registry, KMS
everything.
services, everything, right?
Yeah,
So my suggestion.
I actually tested, I actually like looked into the code of every single API we have in Flux that uses a cloud provider service and came up with a plan for doing that. Like,
Yeah, I also saw that SOPs does not exposes that thing around Google, right?
yeah,
So that's,
but I just needed it to approve and merge that PR.
yeah, so I suggest the following. We first move GitHub from the auth package to the Git package. So inside the Git package, we can have an auth subpackage with GitHub in there. So we move GitHub from the top level auth package and we put it in Git. So it's very obvious this is about Git and nothing else. Then the auth package becomes the package where we do passwordless authentication. And we define that in the...
Yeah, it's effectively the package I suggested in the RFC.
Yeah,
right?
so we will not have something like workload identity. We have the auth package, and because it's under Flux, of course, it uses the Kubernetes way, which is workload identity. Maybe tomorrow they'll rename it. Like workload identity had many names in the past. So I don't want to be stuck with the name or not.
Yeah.
And the auth package will have 3 sub-packages: Azure, AWS, GCP, where we have all the code for doing the token exchange and everything. Today we do it via workload identity. If tomorrow there will be a new, shiny, different way of passwordless authentication, the auth package should support the new thing as well, right?
Yeah, and the interface can actually remain the same. Like just the implementation would change probably. Yeah.
Of course, that's the beauty of it, right? Because we are just auth should be the same. We are now using service accounts where they are instead of just relying on the service account of the of our controller pods. But from a consumer perspective, You just say, oh, I have this new service account, this new name in this namespace.
Mhm.
And then it's
Mhm.
up to the library to do all the
Exactly.
things like, do they
Exactly.
have annotations? Is the client
Yeah.
ID there? Whatever. All that logic should
Yeah.
be completely embedded in
Exactly.
the auth
Yeah.
package.
Like it's literally what you said in my POC. Like I have an option that allows you to specify the service account.
Yeah, and the namespace.
Yeah, yeah, and the names. Yeah, the service account reference. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Cool.
what I
And by the
would really
way,
like, wait a second. So the problem was, so we can do the GitHub stuff today. It doesn't matter because we are not changing anything. We are just moving it. Then we go to source controller and notification controller, and we rewrite the import to be git auth GitHub instead of auth GitHub.
Mhm.
Then you implement all three providers in the auth package,
Mhm.
but we don't release anything yet.
Mhm.
We have it there. We have some end-to-end tests for it that will be run on demand. So we have Google and we have AWS, but we don't have Azure, an
What are
Azure
you talking
account
about?
for Flux
Oh,
accounts.
okay, okay.
But anyway, the Azure one, you can leave it manually. We run it on our own accounts and so on. But for Google and AWS, we can run it through CI
Nice.
and test everything.
Nice.
Then I propose the first ever release of this multi-tenancy feature to be in customized controller and be about KMS. Why? It's a single
Okay.
API, it's a single change. Source controller, we can't do that first because that's way more impactful. If there is bucket, there is OCI repository, there is Git repository, but only for some, right? Like AWS has completely deprecated and there is no more Git service that AWS offers. So we can't even have support all three providers for the Git repository API because AWS no longer has one. Right, so that's very tricky. I'm not sure what to do about Git repository, to be honest. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, like we can only support workload entity for Git repository for Azure, right? Like we don't have AWS and Google.
Yeah. So I think the easiest one and also having the most security benefits is KMS because that's
Yeah.
the most sensitive thing that needs multi-tenancy and it's a single API. And we can ship, let's say, in a future Flux release, multi-tenancy workload identity for KMS. Right?
Right.
Then we can do OCI repository in a next release without doing also bucket, Git repository, whatever, only OCI repository. Because there, for OCI repository, also cover all three providers, right?
Right. Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah. But let me just add something. So Deepti opened that issue. I don't know if something from her side, she opened an issue for workload identity in Azure DevOps in notification controller in Azure Event Hubs for the provider API. So that's something she wants to implement. And actually, she opened the issue for Event Hubs and somebody else opened for DevOps. So those APIs don't have any sort of workload identity yet, not even single tenant.
Yeah, and Azure DevOps does not even support workload identity for APIs. It only supports
but
for Git operations. And
but
the
but
commit status is an API feature, so it will never work.
what? No, but like I saw an issue in a repo from the maintainers from Microsoft showing how to use like I have literally pasted this issue in the issue in notification controller. They were showing how to use a token that was acquired through, let's say, the default credentials and on the connection path. So we have at least like I just need to test this basically. Like I know, like I have exactly the code that would like do that, and so I can just test this. And we would like so I'm just suggesting this because we could benefit from deeply implementing this in notification controller for these two providers, and um and the fact that those APIs are like the only ones that don't have any form of workload identity yet. So it would nice to be like to have workload identity for them. First, I thought about, okay, let's not even support single tenant workload identity for them. But at this, like, I don't think like we have single tenant workload identity for everything else. So we should probably like just support both anyway, and it's super easy. So yeah, anyway. And for Google, so 3 providers, Azure 1, Azure 2, and Google PubSub. So I could test if Azure DevOps, like, because I know exactly how the code would look like. I just didn't test if it works, and if what you're saying is true, then it won't work, and then yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not for imposing multi-tenancy on anyone. Like there are
Right.
so many organizations out there that do hard multi-tenancy. That will be really silly from us to say, oh no, you need to enable Flux multi-tenancy, have service accounts in all namespaces. Why would
Yeah.
you do that if the whole cluster is dedicated to a tenant?
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
zero
Yeah.
sense. So no,
I agree. Yeah.
that's
Okay.
so notification controller has no workload identity integration at this point, right?
It has Google PubSub. I
For
implemented
pub,
this. Yeah, Google PubSub. Yeah.
okay. And that's, yeah, I'm not sure if we should do the multi-tenancy stuff in notification controller first.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, it
it's
sends
fine.
the wrong message to users, basically. Because if you can't decrypt with multi-tenancy, if you can't pull with multi-tenancy, oh, but you
Right.
can send others. Like,
Yeah,
why?
right.
Why would
Right.
we prioritize the
Yeah.
most unimportant from a security perspective?
Yeah.
Like, there are others,
Yeah.
like, who cares? Logs, right?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, so we just have to get Hide on a room and say, merge this PR and subs, please.
Yeah, yeah, he'll probably get to it. It's not like we can do this tomorrow. Um,
Yeah.
we'll- at best it will be in Flux 2.6 only customized controller, right?
Cool.
So plenty of time to review it. I mean, you can work on auth refactoring in a branch. Until then, you don't need to wait for the SOPs thing to be merged to have like
Yeah,
to do the
exactly.
bulk work for the auth package, which is the last.
Yeah, and by the way, I would like to add that this package completely supersedes the OCI/auth package. While I was investigating the how to integrate this for container registries, I saw that all the code that we have there for OCI auth is superseded by this new library. I even actually used some parts of that code in my talk, in my proof of concept to get it done. For example, I learned that we have to extract the AWS region from ECR image repository. We have some crazy exchange logic for Azure, etc. All those things are already in my POC. That library is gonna be completely obsolete after this.
Yeah, the goal with the top level auth package was to replace what we have in OCI. Damn, I need to go jump into another meeting right now. Okay.
Cool.
If you
Sounds good.
guys want
But
to
looks
hang
like
out more,
we discussed everything.
yeah.
Nice.
I have a
Sorry,
quick
Augie, we
question
didn't have
before you
time.
jump.
I can't.
However,
I need to go.
but Kingdom, can you stay?
I need to go.
I can stay too.
Remember the question that Scott Rigby asked, the request that he had last Thursday? I have since reached out to my former colleagues at Ericsson, and we may come up with a way to provide some input from Scott. But as we were discussing the issue, the person that I have spoken at Ericsson with asked, is there any intention to kind of streamline the Helm implementation in such a way that no matter where you use Helm, you can always rely on the implementation being, shall we say, behaving exactly the same way? Because apparently they ran a POC with Google Nef.io a while back, and their Helm behaves differently than Helm behaves in the Flux or Argo CD context. And they found that rather, shall we say, difficult to handle. And so, do you see any merit to pursue this any further?
So let's put some context around what was the issue that Scott brought up. I know he was here asking for input about Helm 4.
Yes.
And specifically from the Flux project, because the Flux project is the, in his words, I think he said something like
The
main
biggest consumer of the SDK, right?
best
Right.
well-known consumer of the SDK.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing this up to you guys.
So what is the ask from the Flux project exactly?
Well, whether it is an ask from the Flux project remains to be seen. But the point is, when you use Helm in the Nef.io or Argo or Flux environments, it seems to be behaving differently. And Ericsson would like to see Helm behave the same way, no matter where you use it.
So I know the reason why it behaves differently in Argo CD is because they inflate the manifests and apply them and discard the concept of the Helm secret for accounting. So they just use etcd and Git, and they don't follow the Helm SDK. I'm not sure about Nefio, this Nephio.
Yeah.
This time I've seen it. Um,
I mean, I could get some more insight about it because in order to go back to Scott, the guy at Ericsson is going to investigate if we can have some umbrella Helm charts that they used in the FIO environment, empty Helm charts, as it were, because they would not share any of the Ericsson application code with us. But clearly, when they come back with those Helm charts, I guess that issue or that input could also be augmented by some input from Ericsson, why they believe that Nef.io is behaving differently than, for instance, Flux when it comes to evaluating Helm charts.
yeah, I'd be interested to take a look in what you find.
Okay. And this is the right place to inject it into the process, or shall I go via Scott to do it?
I think you can bring things to the dev meeting. If there's anything that really needs Flux attention, absolutely, we're gonna look at it. I think what you'll find is that Flux is, in most cases, if not all cases, the more conforming The only other, like I can think of another example, the cross-plane Helm provider uses the Helm CLI directly. So that one is also likely to be highly conforming because it actually uses Helm in the cluster.
Mm.
But other,
Despite the insecure part of using the CLI, right?
well, you mean despite all the different things that can go wrong with plugins if you decide to use plugins, or
Yep.
passing strings that turn out to be harmful. I'm not really sure about what are the issues in crossplane, whether they're mitigated or not. But yeah, those are all the risks that we avoid by not doing that in Flux.
Mm.
Yep.
But it would then make sense, and these are my words, if both the Flux project and the Helm project see merit to pursue this, that Flux and the Helm project essentially would establish a baseline and would exert, shall we say, some gentle pressure, for instance, to bring the NFIO and other implementations in line with the, shall we say, Flux standard. Is that your view?
Yeah, I think if you're going to find places where Flux diverges from everyone else, the main thing is going to be in we run the Helm results through a customize somehow. I know there's the post-render customizations, but even without applying post-render customizations, I think it goes through a customized processing layer that will kick things out like duplicate key values that Helm might allow to pass through and silently coalesce into one value. So that's a case where I think Helm isn't strict enough, and we should coax everyone else to follow
Yeah,
Flux.
okay, but that would be
Yeah, but,
something that
yeah.
we could make as a request for a Helm 4, for a Helm to be more restrictive about these things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Ericsson would welcome such a move. So, okay, I'll go back to my contact at Ericsson. I mean, they still owe me some input as to whether we can have those empty Helm charts anyway. And then before I'll go back to Scott, I'll let you guys know what type of materials are available so that we can stay focused. All right.
Cool.
Thanks a lot.
Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, you too. Right. Goodbye now.
Bye, guys.